Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of Change Talk. If we haven't met before, my name is Tiffany Jenkins, and I am your host. This is Change Talk, a weekly vlog where we talk about topics related to leadership, mental health, self care, and other such things. If you happen to catch this on the replay, please feel free to let us know. Hit hashtag replay and feel free to jump in on the conversation. If you're here with me live, thank you very much. I invite you to share the stream with some folks that you think would benefit from the information that we're going to talk about. We're going to continue a conversation that we had last week. We started talking about change. This is around the time of the year when folks start setting up their New Year's resolutions, or at least thinking about them. And so we want to talk a little bit about how we actually achieve those goals that we set up for ourselves. So feel free to jump in as we're going through the conversation. I will periodically check in on the comments and answer any questions or concerns you might have. If something strikes you a little bit later, let's say you just didn't think about it, that's fine. You can send us a message on the website at www.awakeningchange.org. Go there and you can find out more about me. You can also grab your copy of the anthology, the Shut 'em Down anthology, which I was honored to be a contributing expert for. If you order your book through the site, you'll get a copy of the book that is signed by me. www.awakeningchange.org is that address. And if you just like more information, I am opening up my 2021 calendar for speaking engagements and trainings and things like that. Just shoot me a message either there, or if you happen to be one of the members of our Facebook family, you can drop me a message there at Awakening Change LLC. Or if you're following us on our YouTube channel, Change Talk, just drop us a message and I'll be more than happy to connect with you. So that's the housekeeping stuff that we've gotten out of the way. Like I said, as we go through this information, feel free to jump into the comments and just share your thoughts on whatever we happen to be talking about. I try to keep this to about 15 minutes of me talking, and then I like to get right into your questions. So like I said, feel free, drop those comments, those questions right in the chat box. So last week we started with the work of change. And this whole series on change, as I said last week, is going to be a 3-part series. Last week we just started with defining what change was. Why is change necessary? And one of the things that we talked about last week was the need to be specific about what we were trying to change. We said, if you joined me last week, that you can't fix what you don't face. And so we're going to kind of explore that a little bit more tonight. We're going to talk about what it is that we need to do when we set out to fix those things that we identify that we want to change. So bear with me one second. I'm going to do my best here to share my screen. I am very grateful to presentationgo.com for the wonderful graphic that hopefully you're seeing on your screen right now. And so when I say we're going to be talking about working smarter today, working smarter is twofold. Yes, we're talking about smart as in, using more thinking energy instead of expending more physical energy. But smart is actually a mnemonic that stands for something. So when I talk with my clients that I work with, whether it's coaching clients, counseling clients, whatever the case may be, and we're talking about setting goals, we talk about setting SMART goals. And SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. Like, okay, Tiff, so the goals are SMART. What does that mean as far as me hitting my goals for my New Year's resolution? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Well, when we first talk about specific goals, when you set a goal, let's say, I think around this time of year, everybody's goal, or a lot of folks have the goal of losing weight or taking better care of themselves, right? But what does that mean? What exactly are you looking to accomplish when you say that? When you say workout, when you say get in better shape, what does that mean? Who's involved in that process? Is it just you doing this all on your own? Would you need some help to do that? What specifically are you trying to accomplish? When you say get in shape, does that mean walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded? Does that mean walk for 30 minutes a day? Does that mean work out 3 days a week? What does that mean? Where are you going to go to achieve this goal? And more importantly, why are you doing it? That last question, the why are you doing it, is probably one of the most important questions that you have to ask yourself when you start setting these goals. Why is it important to you? If it's not important to you, if it's not something that you are personally invested in, that you have a personal interest in, chances are you're not going to do it. If you're doing it because the doctor said so, your best friend is doing it, somebody else said it might be a good idea, chances are it's going to fall flat. The first part of setting real clear, real achievable goals is to get specific. And that specific starts with making it personal. The next thing is measurable. How do you know when you've made progress? How do you know when you've got to the outcome that you're looking for? Think of it kind of like putting in an address on your GPS. You wouldn't tell your GPS to take you somewhere because you wouldn't get very far. But if you give it a specific address, if you say, take me to 535 Route 38 East in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, it's going to take you specifically to that place. There is only one 535 Route 38 East in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And so your GPS is going to know exactly where to go. Your brain is going to work the same way when it comes to accomplishing your goals. You can't say you want to get fit without telling it how we're measuring fitness. Now, for me, when I started back on my health journey, one of the first things that my trainer asked me is, what's the goal we're looking for? And I didn't really have a weight that I wanted to get down to. I knew that I wanted to be able to run up a flight of steps without getting winded, but even that isn't really measurable. So you know what my goal was? I want to be able to deadlift 250 pounds. Sounds kind of crazy, but that's my kind of crazy. But we had a number. We could measure that. So each week, if I could go from lifting 100 pounds, and then the next week I could lift 120, and then the next time I could lift 125, I could very clearly measure my progress. When we're talking about setting these goals, when we're talking about our New Year's resolutions, we want to make sure that we can measure them. The more specific and measurable we can make our goals, the more likely we are to achieve them. Why? Because even if I go from lifting 100 pounds in week 1 and can lift 101 pounds in week 2, that's still progress. And we choose progress over perfection. If I can make progress in that week, it'll build my confidence that when the next week comes, I can do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Which brings us to the A of SMART. Are these goals achievable? Is it something that is reasonable enough for you to accomplish? One of my really great friends from high school, I call him Tuggers. His name is William. I have no idea where we got Tug from. But he is a professional, has competed in competitions, lifter For Tug, 250 pounds, he could probably do in his sleep with one finger at this point because he lifts really heavy weight. If I tried to compare my progress to Tug's, I would be disappointed every time because what he can do is not what I can do. How many times have we set these goals for ourselves based on what we've seen other people do, particularly in the age of social media, that aren't really achievable for us? Think about that. If it's not within your wheelhouse to do, yes, we want to challenge ourselves. Yes, we want to push ourselves, but if it's something that's not in your wheelhouse to do, you might want to break that down a little bit and make that goal a little bit smaller so that it can be achievable to you, right? The R, is it relevant? Does this goal fit your particular situation? Is it relevant to what you have going on? If I know that I don't have a gym membership and I don't have a way of getting a gym membership, or even with COVID now, there's a concern that maybe the gyms might start to shut down again. Do I have the equipment to really make these claims, set these goals for myself? Or do I need to tweak them in a way that fits my particular situation of being able to work out at home, having a home gym? Now, if I don't have a home gym, that doesn't necessarily mean that my goal of lifting 250 pounds is completely out the window. It just means that before I can accomplish that goal, I need to start smaller with maybe the goal of creating my home gym. Doesn't mean that these things aren't achievable. It just means that we got to start with where we have the resources so that we don't set ourselves up for disappointment. The final part of this is that your goals should really be time bound. So, what does that mean? It means you have given yourself a deadline. This is not some goal of this year, I'm gonna, next year, I'm gonna. No, be specific. What is it that you can set as a reasonable timeline to achieve your goals? Now, if I say I want to lift, I'll go back to my example of 250 pounds. I know that at the current rate at which I am working out, I can't say I want to deadlift 250 pounds by next week. That's not going to cut it. It is a specific goal. It's measurable. It's really not achievable or relevant given my situation, my skill set, but it is time bound. So chances are I'm probably not going to get there. But if I start with that same goal of being able to do a deadlift with 250 pounds, it is specific and measurable. It is achievable if I say by June of 2021. Now, if my trainer's listening to this, he'd probably have a whole heart attack and say, it's not going to take me that long. But I like to set goals that are a little more conservative. Even if I know I might be able to get there in a little less time, giving yourself that extra time, giving yourself that extra space when you achieve the goal sooner, or when you exceed the goal that you set for yourself, it actually builds your confidence that you can do more. And so when you've had success setting goals to begin with, the next time you go to set your goal, you're going to have more confidence. So you're not going to be as afraid to approach it. You're not going to be as intimidated by it because you will literally have the mindset of, if I did it before, I can do it again. So hopefully this has been helpful. And this information is something that you can take into, yes, take it into 2021, but why wait? Why not set a goal for yourself just for this week? Set some specific, measurable goal that's relevant to your situation and completely achievable, that you are giving yourself a time limit of 1 week to achieve. What can you do in a week? A lot. What if your goal was just to sit down and reframe your goals according to this guideline? Making sure that the things that you want for yourself going into the next week, going into the next month, going into the next year fit this criteria. The goals don't have to be huge and overwhelming. They just have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to you, and have some time limit attached to it. I hope that makes sense for you. I hope you found this helpful. I know that both personally and professionally, when we set goals according to these standards, we always achieve them. Because even when we might not quite get all the way to the finish line, we make progress, and that progress teaches us something about where we need to go. Most times, the folks who don't achieve their goals, even when they've gone through this process, they don't get there for one of two reasons. One, they weren't specific enough or measurable enough, or they didn't realize everything that it really did take to achieve that goal. And sometimes you get started and you realize it's a little bit bigger of a project than you thought it was. It's kind of like when you go to make dinner and you realize you forgot one of the key ingredients, or at least that's what I do sometimes. And so you gotta kind of got to pause and figure out how you can either pivot, or you just got to run out and get what you need and come back, and it delays the process a little bit. Either way, when you use this formula, you don't lose, you learn. And once you learn, the more you learn about yourself, about what you're capable of, that's when real change happens. So, again, I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, you can find us at www.awakeningchange.org. You can also shoot us a message on our social media. If you're on our Facebook page, then you already know where that is. But it's at Awakening Change LLC on Facebook. On YouTube, we are Change Talk. I would hope that you would consider subscribing to our YouTube channel or following us on social media so that you can stay kind of in the know of all of the things that we're going to be working on in this new year. 2021 is already looking to be a phenomenal year with a number of awesome projects that we have lined up. And I hope you'll come along with us for the ride. So thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully you'll be here next week when we'll talk about the power of your mindset in achieving the goals that you set for yourself. But I'm going to give you some homework if you're here today. I want you to sit down and I want you to develop at least 3 goals that you can achieve before our time together next week. And I'll check in and see how you did on your progress with your goals. Hi, Mom. Let's see. It doesn't look like we have any other comments on our YouTube or our Facebook. So I thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, feel free to drop us a note, www.awakeningchange.org. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay safe and be well.